With everything going on in the world, people need to be uplifted. They need something that promotes character, creativity, confidence, and joy. The GRN show is not just an average talk show. The topics are powerful and will make you think. Join me on this journey to be informed, to relate, to connect, and to evolve. Good evening and welcome. My name is Gatel Ruiz Nicholas, and I will be your host for the GRN show. You have probably heard about the connection between body, mind, and soul. When the three are not in accord, the effects on our physical, mental, and emotional well being can be detrimental, which means to be healthy, we must pay attention to all three aspects of our nature. Tonight's connection between all three aspects of our health and why we must nurture our body will be the focus of tonight's show. My guest this evening has played a key role in fostering balance between body, mind, and soul for hundreds of employees where she works. It is with great pride and pleasure I bring you tonight's featured guest, Lisa L. Singer.
Thank you.
Wellness manager for Broward College. And during the pandemic, I must tell you, Lisa has worked very, very hard to keep all employees balanced, not only with some of the physical activities, yoga, meditation, but the weekly messages as well as the videos that she sends every week. In fact, I, as a Broward College employee, always look forward to Wellbeing Wednesdays because of these positive messages, which keeps us going. So, Lisa, I must tell you, thank you for really inspiring us, and what a pleasure it is for us to have you with us this evening on the GRN show. Good evening and welcome.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me, and the pleasure is all mine. I think this is the opportunity during the pandemic to really explore how we can keep ourselves well. I call it collective well-being because we feed off one another, we affect our each other's well-being, and I've had a wonderful opportunity through videos and through my Wellbeing Wednesday newsletters and through going into departments and working with people on different ways that they could consider how to stay afloat. Sometimes you can't be your best version of yourself, but you can at least stay afloat.
Absolutely. And I have to tell you, in the beginning, it was a little difficult.
Yes.
Home, one could really not, the comfort of your office, and then, it's like your work day merged to your home day. So it was challenging. And I have to tell you, with all of your tips, at least I was able to really find a happy medium. So it's been wonderful. But I really would like for our viewers to really understand the importance that all three aspects, our body, our mind, and our soul, some people call it a spirit, how they all impact our well-being. So tell us a little bit about how can one cultivate a mind, body, soul balance, Lisa?
Well, that's an interesting question, and it's a rather challenging answer because I'm not sure if we are ever balanced between all three at any given time. It's sort of like the imagery of a three-legged stool with one leg that's a little bit shorter. It kind of teeters and totters, and sometimes it might be the physical domain, sometimes it might be the mental, sometimes the spiritual. But I think what we need to keep in mind is that because they all influence each other, identify what's missing and why. The big question is why. People always know what they should do. I should do this and I should do that, but why aren't you doing it? And so really getting in touch with understanding yourself, first of all. We are bundles of habits. We are habit patterns. And once we get to know why we have these habits, that's how we can start changing them. So the intersection of mind, body, and spirit is that we need to have some type of purpose in life, and some people call that a spirit. We need to mind our physical health because our bodies carry us through our lives. And we can't let that go, or we age really quickly, and we also lower our immunity. But it's really in the mental domain, within the way that our brain functions, that we can influence the other two more strongly. So I would say that if one was going to focus on any one to begin with, it would be the mental well-being.
That is very interesting. And you are absolutely correct. I think we do try to take care of our bodies. And very often our days are so busy with other activities. A lot of time we really don't take care of the mental state. Well, or our mind, I should say, the spirit, the soul, all of that is important. But I think today you really kind of have been able to connect. The mind is probably, that's where it all
drives everything. Yes.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And what are some of the most common things, would you say, that usually drains one's energy? And what can we do about them?
Oh my. Well, during the pandemic, the first thing that really drained people is that, as I said before, we are habits. We are just filled with habits. And the brain likes patterns. And so that's why habits that you don't try to make are really easy to make. And when you try to make a lifestyle change, it's really difficult. But so we were going along in our lives, not thinking about our day-to-day lives because they were automatic, they were autonomous. And suddenly we were thrust into being at home. And we had to quickly learn how to work these web platforms. And faculty had to learn how to teach online. We had to learn how to keep our work going. And the mind said, I just can't do this all. And so we had decision fatigue because everything became a big decision. Do I leave my house? Is it safe to leave my house? How do I get my groceries? All those things that we used to think about were just thrown up in the air, and we had to form new habit patterns. Once we did that, and you notice after a couple of months, things would calm down a little bit. And you go, okay, so now I'm getting it. We still weren't all together, of course, but it did get a little bit easier because the brain said, okay, I'm picking out some patterns here. Now these I can work with. And you work with colleagues to get new systems going. But the most difficult thing in the beginning of the pandemic was that we were in the middle of this transition of we don't do this anymore, and now we have to do this. Yeah. So the changes are easy. It's the transitions in the middle, that river of transitions that we have to cross over to get to doing something new. And that was very stressful. Ambiguity is stressful for humans because we are control freaks. We like to know what we're doing. And we don't like it when someone says, well, I'm not really sure what's going to happen in the future. And that sends us into that fight, flight, or freeze response, that adrenaline rush, the fear. So fear is very draining of our energy. And then it's just things like a lot of demands. All of our work has been taking a lot longer. I don't know about you, but we've been working some longer hours because work just seems to take longer. And so the balance that we try to have between our family life, our home life, our individual life, and our work life is completely blurred. And so some people were actually getting up in the morning and going out to their car, driving around the block, coming back home and saying, now I have my mindset for work. And that sounds really absurd, but it was like a virtual commute that they were doing. So really it's been all of the ambiguity and all of the changes that we've had to make at one time that have drained us, in addition to the other stressors that we have, such as the always on internet, the constant barrage of news, all of the social issues that we've had to deal with in the past year. It's that if there's anything that's draining on the soul, that is one of them, because we feel badly about them. We know what we can do, but we just can't seem to fix them. So challenges like that, sadness, people have experienced loss. And the sadness at the loss of a lifestyle. There was one article about people grieving another article that was recent about people languishing. And I think that that's a little bit extreme. I
Mhm.
see people still in stressful conditions, but I think pretty much we're resilient. We've managed to pick each other up and pick ourselves up, but we're still not back to that kind of functioning where we can say, I really feel good about everything now, because now we're going to be making more transitions back out of our houses and back into the world again. So now the brain says, well, now I have another thing to deal with. So that's what it really is. The lack of control.
The lack of control, fear, the stresses, they're all draining.
Mhm.
How do you suggest we manage them? How does one manage all of these stressors and those things that drain us of our energy? What are the best way to cope with that?
Well, and I think it's pretty much different for everyone, but there are some principles that we can all sort of consider espousing. And one of those is learn about yourself and what really upsets you and why. The mind ruminates, and rumination, being upset about things that may or may not be happening. You know how that saying goes, don't believe everything that you think? Because we start to tell ourselves things and then we wind ourselves up into a state of anxiety. So really get control of that and understand what it is that's upsetting you. And is it really something to be upset about? What wakes you up at 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, that's scrolling over and over in your mind? And try to get that settled in some way, reconcile it, have practices to calm yourself down when that happens, and try to be realistic. That's probably the first one. And I know a lot of people wouldn't say that. They'd say, you must drink 8 glasses of water a day and you must eat all your vegetables. And yes, that's true. But it really does start in how we frame our world and how we get a grip on the way that we deal with the
Mhm,
challenges in life.
mhm.
So deciding what you really have to do, whether it's for your work, you have to take care of your families, you have to take care of other things. What is it that you have to do? And then how can you fill in with the other things that you might want to do or feel like you should do without trying to be a super person, or in many cases superwoman, because women are that way.
That's exactly right. It's interesting, during the pandemic, I think I've taken better care of myself than I've ever had,
Oh, that's wonderful.
simply because I realized I could not be the super person. I'm not about, there is no break. Everything kind of blends in,
Yes.
and then I've decided in the morning, I'm
Yeah.
going to start with me. So I get out the house most mornings, go out for my walk, and it's really has been a life changing experience for me because, like you say, there's always the fear, there is loss, and at times you really need an outlet to do
Mhm.
it. So I've learned I must take care of me first before I take
Yes.
care of anyone else and not feel guilty about or saying I'm being selfish.
Mhm.
Bottom line, when I'm at my best, and I imagine our loved one are also benefiting from our being our best. So
Yes, yes, they are. And you know the saying that says you can't drink from an empty cup.
that's correct.
Because we women in particular feel like they are carriers of the world, caretakers of everyone. And that's really difficult because we erode our own health by not taking moments for ourselves because we think that we don't have time. And it doesn't have to be a long, drawn out process to do something good for yourself. It could be just something like taking 2 or 3 minutes to get up and to stretch, to get a sip of water, to maybe have a sip of tea or have a nice little chocolate or something like that. And then to say, okay, now I'm going to get back to work. So we think we have to do things that are big, and we don't. It's the consistency of the small things that we do throughout the days. And with children being at home, spouses being at home, suddenly you're doing for them when they could be taught to do for themselves. And so I know of people who had a family meeting and they said, okay, here we are together. Let's figure out how we're going to make this work because I cannot take care of everybody and work and stay healthy myself. And that is the only way that it worked for some families, because one person can't take care of it all. So yes, it's wonderful when you can adopt those practices, because just a few minutes at a time matters more than doing a big, say, for exercise, right?
Correct.
People think that they have to knock themselves out, the no pain, no gain that's been drilled
That's
into
right.
our psyches for years. Well, it is at this point, it is any pain, no gain. If exercise hurts and it's stressful and it wears you out, it's not a good exercise. If you were to take 1 or 2 minutes every hour or two and do a couple of exercises, take a few breaths, take some sips of water, and get back to work, you would have better overall benefits to your health over time than doing those knockout high intensity workouts and crazy diets. That's what we have to, we know that inherently, but we think emotionally we still have to do more.
Good point. Good point. Sometimes the little small incremental actions
Yes,
are well invested. So,
they are. And sometimes that's all you get. Sometimes all you get is a moment or two, because our work is so busy. And with meetings used to be where you got out of a meeting room, you walked, you got up, you picked up your stuff, you went to another meeting room, you sat down, you maybe stopped in the bathroom in between. And now a meeting is click off and click back on again.
correct.
Well, there's really no time to mentally refocus in between. So we have to take those moments when we can get them to say, all I need to do is a couple of breaths. And what those deep breaths do is they activate our parasympathetic nervous system, which is called rest and digest. That is when the hormones from the brain tell the rest of your body to calm down. That is when we reduce our risk of high blood pressure. That is when our resting heart rate goes down. That's when we increase our immunity. So if we can stay in that calm state over time, we can improve our health by just doing these very small things.
Awesome. Awesome. And I have to tell you, I had to learn it from you, Lisa. When you say take a break,
Yes.
5 minute stretch. So during the day, we've gotten, I'm hoping many of my counterparts from the college have done the same, where we're able, after a meeting, take a 5 minute, go for some fresh air.
Right. Yes.
Things in the beginning I would not do. I would stay in front of that computer the whole. I'll take my lunch, eat, and then another 3-4 hours. So, and I find I do much better and enjoy the work, even enjoy what I'm doing so much more, because I don't have the neck ache and all of that. So those were very good tips.
Right. Well, that's important too, is the way that we sit and the way that we work. I have been noticing I notice it all the time because I do ergonomic assessments, that people don't have their workstation set up to support their posture. And one of the most significant things to prevent anxiety, to prevent exhaustion and pain and stiffness is using proper posture.
Mm-hmm.
We see this. People sitting here typing like this, and pretty soon they go, oh, my neck hurts, my shoulders hurt, my back hurts. And over time, you develop that chronic pain, and it actually ages the body. It diminishes your energy because you can't breathe, and it even affects digestion. So there are so many things that are completely interwoven with how we design and move through our days.
Good point. Now, this one is a little tricky for me, and I think just even during our conversation, we've switched from soul to spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I guess some people are under the impression that when we talk about soul and spirit, we may be referring to religion.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about when we're feeding our soul and nurturing our soul. What does that look like?
Sure. Well, certainly faith practices are a big part of that for a lot of people. Whatever faith people have believed strongly that nourishes them is wonderful. But also it is defining what kind of meaning your life has, finding a certain purpose in life. And it can be very simple. And some people's purpose is to raise children who grow up
Mhm.
and contribute to the world. Some people's purpose is to rescue animals and make sure that they have the best life. My purpose in life is to do as much as I can every single day to help people have a better quality of life, no matter what kind of lifestyle they have. And so finding a purpose and doing things that are meaningful as often as you can nourishes the soul. A really important one is getting out in nature. I think you know
Yes,
that I go to the beach at sunrise because I'm from Wisconsin. And it is, I love the four seasons, but they are not equitable. The winter is way too long and it's way too cold. And so coming down here to South Florida and going to the beach, it's a sensory bath, is what I call it. You hear the waves, you hear the birds, you see the waves, you feel the ocean. It really is a complete spiritual experience as far as I'm concerned.
absolutely.
And so anytime that you can get out and look at the sky, look at the trees, walk around and spy a flower, watch birds, they're building their nest now. That is a very spiritual and a very grounding experience. So,
Absolutely.
and it doesn't have to be big, it just has to be outdoors, experiencing the beauty of our natural world. Also, music. Beautiful music is touches the soul. You know how music can change a mood, and it can create a mood, it can strengthen a mood. So when I want to focus on something, I play that relaxation binaural beats type music that aligns with brain waves.
Mhm.
And periodically throughout the day, every day I get up and I put on one fun song and I dance to it. I highly recommend that for mood. There's a song called from it's called I Like to Move It, Move It. And so you get up and you dance around and then you laugh because you're dancing around. And by the time the song ends, like 4 minutes later, you're going, I really feel good now. I have mental
Awesome.
energy, I have physical energy, and you really are brightening your life by doing little things like that. So those kinds of things are really important. And then feeling a sense of gratitude for everything that we have. Um,
Absolutely.
it's always, no matter how little we have, we can be grateful for waking up in the morning. When I wake up in the morning, I say, I'm waking up, I'm powering up, I'm getting up, and I'm showing up. And because I'm just happy to be up and moving, to be able to do the things that I'm doing, and to have that intense gratitude for anything that you have in life that you cherish is a very soul nourishing practice.
And gratitude goes a long way.
It
You know,
does. It does.
very often I have to remind myself there is just so much that to be grateful for, and just the privilege of waking up and starting
Yes.
the day. That really is something to be grateful for, and one that I really value in the morning. And you've mentioned the affirmations. Those are also great practices that
Mhm.
nourishes the soul. Now, when you think about the mind, what would be some of the best ways of nourishing the mind?
Well, the one way that I think everyone should learn about how the brain works. First of all, because it's really fascinating, because our brain literally runs everything else in our lives. It runs our body. It dictates how we feel, how we react, how we respond. And so developing an understanding of how the brain functions and how you can actually change the way the brain functions. And not only that, you can change the brain structure. And that's called neuroplasticity. And we change them through mindful practices like deep breathing. And I know people say, oh, stop it with that deep breathing stuff. But it really does do more than just give you some more oxygen in your body. It changes the way the brain functions. If you do practices like there's a breath practice where you just say, I am competent. I am strong. I am worthy. And your brain
Awesome.
goes, yes, I am. As a matter of fact, I am. So whatever we tell ourselves is really what we become. And I think so many people don't give themselves credit for their competencies and their capabilities. And so we have a lot of people running around with imposter syndrome. They think, well, someday someone's going to find out that I don't know anything. And so we don't give ourselves credit for what we do. So calming ourselves down and really getting to know what are my strengths and then maximizing those. Being mindful of what we're putting into our minds every day in terms of the people that we associate with, in terms of the media that we allow to go into our minds, because that all can either erode our frame of mind and therefore our optimism. And optimism is not like being a Pollyanna, right? It's not just saying,
Correct.
I'm just going to ignore everything bad in the world and I'm going to be happy. It's really understanding the nature of adversity and trauma and believing in your ability to not only to transcend, but to thrive under any conditions. And so a lot of the mindful practices, and there are many apps, and some of them are free. And I'll tell you about those if you remind me, because otherwise I'll forget. They're free apps that just talk you through, okay, let's just think about this one thing today. And let's use that as our daily affirmation. What do I think about the way that I present myself in a meeting, for example? And then you think about that and you say, okay, these are the things that I'd really like to improve about what I do. And you improve them, and that builds self-efficacy for developing yourself as a more competent professional and just as a better version of yourself overall. So the mind is journaling. Some people like to write in a journal. Some people like to read. Whatever it is, no matter what it is, reading is good for the mind because it keeps those brain connections strong. So acts of kindness also. And that kind of bridges the mind and the spiritual part, because even when you witness an act of kindness, I was at the grocery store one day, and this was a while back, and there was a young man bagging groceries for the elder woman in front of me. And she was watching him, and she said to him, "You must be a really organized person. Look how you put these groceries in these bags so perfectly." And he was surprised. He was surprised at getting a compliment, and I watched him rise up. I watched his whole demeanor change.
Oh, wow.
And it was so wonderful. And I think she knew that about doing those things for people. And so it really gave a lift to his day. And watching that act of kindness, I went, oh, that just made my day. So it's very small things, but again, it's that consistency.
Terrific, terrific. I mean, we've talked about so many interesting things. And if you were to sum it up for us, Lisa, give us maybe the top 5 things one might consider to really maintain that balance or to develop the practice of, ensuring that all 3 aspects of our nature are in alliance.
Sure. Well, one of them that we didn't really touch on is it is important to take care of one's body. When we are stressed out, we eat junk food, we drink sodas, we don't drink enough water, we don't eat enough healthy food. So I like to think of healthy food as nourishment. Why would I not want to indulge in the healthiest foods that I can? Because they are what fuel everything that we do. So take care of your body through healthy food, through enough water, through getting enough sleep. The body really doesn't function on not getting enough sleep, because it will erode your physical health. And we've got to move every day in some way. All of our joints and muscles should be taken through their range of motion, even if slightly. So that's the first one, is really take care of the body and savor the ability to move. Because as we move through life and we become less active, pretty soon we are not able to move anymore, and then we lose it. So that's one really important thing. And the next one is really find out what moves you, what moves your soul, and do more of that. And the affirmations, yes, they are wonderful. Music, and I like to play affirmations that are to music. In fact, I'd like to have a soundtrack playing when I talk all the time, because it just makes everything seem so much more meaningful. But find out what kind of music that really uplifts you, that restores your soul. And the third one is minding your mind.
Yes.
What do you tell yourself? Notice when you start to default to the negative. What are you doing that is bringing yourself down? And the next one is, what are you learning? What are you learning that is making you better throughout a lifetime? It used to be thought that people lose their capability to learn as they got older. And now what we find is that you're really building on that reservoir of all the accrued knowledge and wisdom that we have. So what are you doing to build on that that's making you a better version of yourself? And I think for me, it's what am I doing for other people? Because that really nourishes me. And we know that altruism is good for the giver and for the receiver. So I think that's a really important thing is what are you doing that is uplifting someone else, even just a little bit every day?
Yes. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, listen, this conversation has really been food for my mind, for the soul, and so forth. I cannot say thank you enough, Lisa, for sharing your knowledge with us. And really, I am certain that somebody who's watching this today is really picking up something that they're going to put into practice. So, once again, I want to personally
So,
thank you,
yes,
Lisa, for
yeah,
the wonderful work you are doing for the employees at Broward College, and you certainly are making a difference. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And until next time, we'll be talking a little bit
okay,
the week, but what a pleasure it was. This is
okay.
quite invigorating.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It means a lot to hear you say that. It really does. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, and you do the same.
Okay, thank you.
We'll
Okay,
be right
okay.
back.
We come from where most
I feel like mental health for me is a thing that doesn't really get talked about. It's harder for us to express our feelings because we're taught young to bottle them up. My name is Tobe Chukwudu Bemwigwe. I'm an Igbo boy from the southwest side of Houston, Texas, and I'm here to talk with Muhammad and Jordan about emotions, feelings, mental health. And you know what I'm saying? We're just gonna let the spirit move.
I'm Jordan. I'm 12 years old.
I'm Muhammad. This is my stepson. I just call him my son.
As a father, it's your responsibility to lead your children into being mentally healthy, emotionally healthy.
Sometimes when I cry, I won't know how I'm feeling or why I'm crying.
I just grew up never feeling like it was okay to cry. And so he really forced me to have to reconnect with the kid that didn't get to cry.
That's beautiful. In the society that we were brought up in, it's very hard on little black boys. So you have to navigate feelings and emotions so the world don't get you.
we had to learn what case birds sing, but we fly, even though they poison the sky. We don't cry, we gon' take our piece of the pie.
Good evening, Dorothy. Happy Saturday. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Gital. Happy Saturday. How are you?
I am doing very well, thanks. I feel invigorated really by my last speaker. She is actually the wellness manager for Broward College, and she's done an amazing job with the wellness program. And she was our guest this evening. And the topic we talked about was really nurturing our body, mind, and soul. And she was right on target. So I do feel invigorated. So tell us a little bit about what you have for us this evening.
Well, today's topic is your quality of life. I want to first mention that just this week, I believe a report came out from the WHO World Health Organization that long working hours are killing thousands of people through strokes and heart attacks every year. Which I remember we had a segment on heart disease before.
Correct.
Not having a well-balanced life can cause many problems in different areas of our lives. Falling right into today's show, the topic, nurturing our body, mind, and soul. So with the US slowly moving towards normalcy from the pandemic, many people have been affected emotionally, physically, and mentally. Today, life balance is being recognized and heard loud and clear by everyone. Today, I'm going to tell you some great tips on how to practice mindfulness in living your quality of life. First of all, get back to being social gradually. In some parts of the country, things are starting to open up, but make sure you are still taking precautions until you can get vaccinated. Going to the parks and meeting in small groups can be a start. This will help in getting back to being comfortable in being around large groups. So gradually get into that. Secondly, get enough sleep, exercise, and eat well. As always mentioned and emphasized, get enough sleep between 6 to 8 hours in order to be refreshed for your next busy day. Get some exercise or activity into your daily routine. And of course, eat healthy and balanced meals. By incorporating these things, it helps you to remain healthy. And finally, live in the present and cherish the quiet moments.
Mhm.
Live in the present moment and try not to think too much of the past and into the future. This can create mood swings that can steal happiness and joyful moments. So cherish the quiet moments and nature in helping the body to settle itself when needed and to also rejuvenate for the next busy or hectic time. So with these helpful tips, you can help nourish your mind, body, and soul. So these are my tips in living your quality of life.
Super. You know, it's very interesting. Many of the things you've mentioned, Lisa mentioned as well. So it's all really in sync. And my hope is that our viewers will really pick up a little bit of this to enhance their quality of life. Thank you so much, Dorothy, for your wonderful tips. And until next time, enjoy your evening.
Thank you, Gital. You too.
To conclude our show this evening, I would like to leave you with these words. And basically, life always has many challenges, twists, and turns, and quite often when we least expect them. This is how we grow, this is how we evolve. And quite often, changes can be difficult. And it is through those changes we become our best self. We must embrace them. Nurturing our body, mind, and soul is key as we journey through these challenging times and deal with the day-to-day stresses of life. And one of my favorite quotes that I think very often when I'm going through a difficult time is by BKS Lyonger. It goes like this: the rhythm of the body, the melody of the mind, and the harmony of the soul create the symphony of life. Thank you for joining us this evening, and until next time, enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. Good night.